Our third day ended with us checking into the Crown Plaza Hotel in Jerusalem. We walked into camera crews but did not realize until later what was going on. Our 16th floor room had a spectacular view of Jerusalem, and our accommodations were clean and comfortable. This is a photo of the olive wood praying hands I bought in Magdala. We just arrived in Jerusalem. What a magnificent city. This is the view from our hotel room, which is the Crown Plaza. There's a lot of security here right now because Benjamin Netanyahu will be here this evening, the Israeli Prime Minister. Pretty cool. Amazing. Wonder if we can see the Temple Mount from here. Where is it? My gosh, look at all these apartments or buildings back there. What is that? Wow, look at that. This is a very populated city. This is the view from our room at night. The city lights are very pretty. The next morning, breakfast was at 6:45 and we were on the bus at 7:30. Our first stop was Temple Mount, but it was closed. Apparently, this is common and it closes randomly to visitors with no advance notice. I think Ramadan may have had something to do with it. We then walked over to the Western Wall. This is an ancient limestone wall built in the old city of Jerusalem. It was built in 20 BC. This is the most religious site in the world for the Jewish people. Thousands of people visit the wall each year to pray. I had a prayer written down and was able to place the note in a crack in the wall. It was a pretty powerful moment. The wall was divided into two sections, one for men and one for women. Women are required to have their legs and shoulders covered. The currency here is the shekel. Fred withdrew 300 shekels, which was about $100. We then walked the Via Dolorosa, which is a 1/2 mile processional route through Old City that is believed to be the path that Jesus walked on his way to the crucifixion. The path ends at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The walk through Old Town was fascinating. I was with a group and we were walking pretty fast, so I took pictures of anything that looked interesting so I could study it later. Along this route are 14 stations of the cross. Station 1 is where Jesus is condemned to death. Station 2, Jesus takes the cross. Station 3, Jesus falls under the cross for the first time. Station 4, Jesus meets his mother. Station 5, Simon the Cyrenian is forced to carry the cross. Station 6, Veronica wipes the sweat from Jesus' face. Station 7, Jesus falls for the second time. Station 8, Jesus consoles the women of Jerusalem. Station 9, Jesus falls for the third time. Station 10, Jesus is stripped of his garments. Stations 11 through 14 take place in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. There were a lot of street vendors. In a few minutes, you'll see I get caught up in this group. I felt like it was in a movie. It was absolutely surreal.
Alright, let's go around, please.
Fred made friends with an Israeli police officer. They exchanged information. Fred got an Israeli police patch, and he mailed this guy one of his FBI patches and some other items. Oh my goodness, look at these fabrics. They are absolutely beautiful. I would have loved to have taken some of these home. The breads look amazing too. Now we are at the end of the processional route, inside the Holy Sepulchre Church. This is the locations of stations 11 through 14. 11 is where Jesus is nailed to the cross. 12, Jesus dies on the cross. 13, Jesus is taken down from the cross. And 14, Jesus is laid in a tomb. This area where I'm kneeling is where Jesus was prepared for burial when he was taken down from the cross. So now we visit the Garden Tomb. Big surprise, but there's a bit of controversy here. Remember Station 14 at the Holy Sepulchre Church? I said that was the station where Jesus was put in his tomb. Well, there are some that believe that that location is not accurate, and his tomb was really at this location. They believe that this was the location of Jesus' burial and resurrection. Either way, this was a fascinating sight, and the lecture was enjoyable. We then got to enjoy some spectacular views from the University of Jerusalem. We also ate our lunch here, which consisted of a chicken schnitzel on a pita. Fred got some photos of this girl on a camel. You don't realize how high up you are until that camel stands. We then visited the Mount of Olives and the Garden of Gethsemane. This garden is where Jesus often prayed and his disciples often slept here. It is said that Jesus spent his last night here, and he was captured near this garden. The Mount of Olives is one of Jerusalem's most holy of places. In the garden are 8 very old olive trees surrounded by an iron fence. The timelessness of these trees inspires a sacred atmosphere. Some of the wood near the roots has dated to be almost 2,300 years old. The Garden of Gethsemane is where the Virgin Mary was buried and was assumed into heaven. We then walked down the Mount of Olives, and you'll see the gravesite in a moment. And according to the Bible, Zechariah 14:4, when the Messiah comes, he will first start at this very gravesite to resurrect people. So I guess you can see why so many want to be buried here. Back in the 40s, this gravesite was owned by Jordan, and Jews weren't even allowed to visit as they couldn't go to Jordan at that time. Our last stop of the day was the Church of St. Peter in Gallicantu. Beside the church was a stepped street that was excavated. And on the evening of Jesus' arrest, he descended these steps from his prison on his way to the Last Supper. You can hear the Islamic call to prayer in the background. You can hear it throughout the land. So we are inside the Church of St. Peter in Gallicantu. The lower levels of the church contain what is believed to have been a guard room and a prisoner's cell. This cell is where they believe is where Jesus was held until his crucifixion. We go down to the cell in a moment and we hear Dr. Davis preach.
grave, your faithfulness among those who perished, and your wonders made known in the darkness, or your justice in the land of oblivion. But I, O Lord, cry out to you. With my morning prayer, I wait upon you. Why, O Lord, do you reject me and hide me from your face? I am afflicted and in agony since my youth. I am dazed with the burden of your dread. Your wrath lies heavy against me, and your terrors have cut me off. They encompass me like water all the day. On all sides they close in on me. Companion and neighbor you have taken from me, and my only friend is darkness. At any moment, Jesus could have said, I don't think I'm going to do this. But he sat in this dark dungeon, awaiting the crucifixion for you. Let us pray.